Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. This is a TV show where, yes, every single time we're talking to an outstanding guest about how we can grow our businesses, I don't know, exponentially get into that 6, 7, 8-figure business. Yes, we're talking about all those things, but here's the thing, and my special guest and I were just talking about this earlier. Are we going too fast? Are we pushing ourselves to the brink, to the limit where we are actually forgetting ourselves, the actual reason for the whole deal? So this is why the TV show is called Grow Your Business Smarter dash live your optimal life, because you can't leave that living your optimal life piece out of it. And we want to mesh those two together on every single episode. So hi, I'm Dr. Davia Shepherd, and I'm your host today. And my very special guest is Roe Desaro. Now, here's the deal with Roe. I'm gonna fangirl a little bit, y'all, because I met Roe through one of the sort of more executive networking groups that I am a part of. And I have to tell you, I was admiring her from a distance for quite a while before I actually reached out and said, hey, let's have some conversation. You know, I'd heard really outstanding things about her from one of my dear friends who has also been one of our guests, Julia. And I was just chomping at the bit to have an opportunity to connect with her. Well, we connected, and she was as amazing as she was advertised. And she even invited me to be a part of her most recent conference, Collaborate Conference, which, for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, you probably don't know this about me yet, but there's hardly a paragraph that goes out of my mouth that doesn't have the word collaborate as part of it, because I really, really, truly believe that when we link arms together, when we work together, that it changes everything. It really does up level the quality of what we're able to put out for our customers, certainly. And it also really helps us to have a more robust product that we offer. We end up with what I like to call, and I know we're on the Win-Win Woman Network, but it's the 4 wins, guys. A win for you, a win for your client, a win for your partner, and so important, a win for the greater good. So, Ro, welcome. I am pleased as punch that you are hanging out with us today. And I'd love for you to, in your very own words, just introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them why I like you so much.
Thank you so much. That was a great introduction, and I loved it. And I think I was kind of stalking you a little bit as well. I know on the one of those events that we have, those strategic business introduction, like those little mini masterminds, you were always the person sat back, always give, give, give. You waited last for your turn, and I went, "This is an interesting person. She's giving, but." Not at that sense of where I feel it's somebody that doesn't know the balance of the give and the receive. So I always got that energy from you, but yet you were giving so much. So I was intrigued by you. So hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so happy to be here. I am Roe Desaro. And who am I? You know, it's so tough after being around for 40 years in the workplace to kind of say that so succinctly in like 1 or 2 sentences. But you know, in a nutshell, I'm that woman that's been telling women that they could have it all for the last 40 years. And people looked at me and rolled their eyes and thought I was crazy. And now I get women listening finally. But here's a new thing, is that I do get them saying, yeah, but we could have it all, but we can't have it all at the same time. And Dr. Davia, that's why I love what you just said. It is about that integration. It is about working smarter, not harder, and having everything and having that optimal life at the same time. So that's been my stand my entire life. And I've been working as a business coach for the last 10 years, helping women entrepreneurs really step into who they are, build a business that honors, them, their authenticity, and find out what motivates them. Because I found where you find your deep confidence is when you really, really know who you are and what you stand for and what you want. And a lot of times, a lot of women don't pay a lot of attention on what they want, and they go right into, the next step. And then I've been a life coach, and now because of COVID, I've kind of really more shifted geared into really focusing more on leadership. So I could say a lot more, but I'm sure it'll come out in our conversations. But it's just I've just been in this human development world, personal development world my entire life, and been focusing mostly on women. And now I'm starting to really focus on men and women, and that kind of gets me really juiced up lately.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit, Ro? Because you say you've over the past 40 years. Oh my goodness. 40 years. I vow to you. I said to somebody I was talking to yesterday, and I said, I've been in healthcare, I've been in patient care for over 20 years. And they looked at me like, oh, interesting. But it's really, really a badge of honor to be able to say that you have been at this for 40 years. Tell us a little bit about the early days. What
Mm.
made this what you wanted to do with your life?
So I am a product of very strong Italian women, a strong grandmother, and particularly a very strong mom. My mom was the only woman that worked. 1960, she went to work when I was 3 years old. But the key here is she had 4 older children, older than me, the oldest being 13. So for a woman in 1960 to go to work full time with kids, 5 kids, 3 to 13, is amazing in itself. And so I had a tremendous lead by example. My mom also was a woman who stood by, she knew what she wanted, and she wasn't going to let anybody get in her way of not getting it. So, and she's been this way until, unfortunately, she passed this year at 92, with a community of 300 people traveling, having them travel around the world. So she was still working, still living her legacy, still enjoying life. She unfortunately she had an accident, but it being around. This is why I'm so adamant about helping women, because I know that when we change our DNA, we change the DNA of our generations that come after us. And I have a daughter who's amazing, and I purposely wanted to raise a powerful girl. So we would 3 generations of women entrepreneurs in my family. So when I was young, and I studied psychology, and I studied men and women back when I was 18 in the 70s, and I saw the difference in society. And I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually sad for men, because I said, oh, women got freedom. We get to just have babies and play all day long, and they're forced to be a breadwinner. They're forced to put food on the table. They have a lot more, lot more pressure put on them than that was my view as a teenager back then. But I just felt that society was putting women not putting them on a pedestal. They were putting men on a pedestal and not women. And I just felt that women can do what a man can do. And I was just like, and I'm going to go prove it. And it wasn't about my smarts. It wasn't that I felt intelligent. This was exactly a young Brooklyn girl who totally just really felt something and followed her feelings and nothing else. And I said, I'm going to prove it. And at that time is when the commodity exchange was really growing, and if you look at it, because I have to say this to kind of give you a context, the stock market was filled with individuals who went to college, had a college degree, and became stock traders. The commodity exchange was filled with streetwise Brooklyn guys, mostly from where I lived. So I saw these guys who were doing like the smoking pot in high school and all this, suddenly making millions of dollars. And I was like, what is going on here? So I was like, if a woman can do this, I'm going to prove it on Wall Street. So I chose Wall Street only because Wall Street was all around me and people were being very successful, making a lot of money. and they didn't have a lot of talent. And they didn't have a lot of smarts. They really were street guys. And that's what I did. And I went to my brother-in-law was a commodity broker, hung out on the floor, and I really wanted to be the first female commodity broker. When the men were like, no, you really don't want that. You're going to get beat up. It's a physical job too. But here's what you need to look for. So I had men as mentors when I was as young as my like 22, 23 years old. And because of that, I was able to start looking for a job, and I knew what to take and what not to take. I had advice: get a front position, front job only, get a front position, all of that. And that's what I did. And then the very first day, so I got a clerical position that didn't exist. So there was no judgment, no comparison. Thank God for me. And I had a male, and he was actually African American male, because so I was the only female, he was the only black male, right? And we were like two like peas in a pod there. And he said, "Do you want to do what I'm doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "All right, pick up the phone." I'm like, "What do you mean pick up the phone? I don't have my stockbroker license." He says, "Stockbroker's on the other side. I'm on a trading floor with traders, 100 traders." And he's like, "Listen, if they know what they're doing, they're going to ask for who they want by name. If they don't know what they're doing, they'll talk to you, they'll probably know less than you. Trust me." And I was like, "Okay." And the rest was history. And I had that position within 6 months. And that
That's
was
amazing, Ro. That's just outstanding. That's really, really it's such a great story. It's such a great origin story. So basically, you're a superhero now. So here we are on the verge of Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. On the verge of 2023, a new year is about to dawn. And a lot of our viewers, a lot of our members, they're looking at their businesses, they're reevaluating, they're doing their planning, they're doing all sorts of things, trying to make sure that as we go into this new year, that we're doing it the right way, and that maybe we're leaving behind some of the mistakes of 2022. Maybe we're learning something, maybe we're doing something a little bit differently. If you had, with all your years and years of experience, if you had a piece of advice to give to us as we are going into this new year, Q1, what would that be, Rose?
that would be not to leave out doing the inner work on yourself, not to leave out paying attention to how you are showing up. Are you being rather than doing? Are you balancing your feminine energies as long as your masculine energies? Are you embracing that side of you that is compassionate and empathetic and kind and loving? I stand for today that love belongs in business. Love belongs in business. And women are the leaders of that. And conscious men that see it are leading it as well. And so often we get hung up at this time of the year into the strategies, into that plan, that we leave this piece aside. We leave this piece that, dude, is there a trauma you need to heal? Is there, a worthiness that you need to heal? Is there, a piece of you that knows that if you have any self-doubts, if you made this big plan and all of a sudden you already hear the negative thoughts, don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. That is the work that needs to be done in order for you to live your best life. And unfortunately, that work should come first, not last. And many times we leave it last. So sometimes it's switching the order of things. Goal planning, game planning, goals must need. That's the masculine. Now, to execute, we need to create in the feminine, but we need to execute it in the flow. So what strategies or what skills do you need to do to make sure you're executing in flow, so that we don't get in the situation where Thanksgiving is like, oh my God, where'd this come from? It just like snuck up on me and I'm so busy. And because I've been busy in the doing. So that's something that I think is important that we pay attention to and we recognize. And it's very deep work. It's a journey. It's not something that, oh, I've done that. I've read a personal development book, it's a one and done. As you're growing your business, because you're putting in plans to scale your business and grow your business. You know what they all say, new level, new devil, right? Did you ever hear that? So it is that new things are going to come up. And if you pay attention to it and you're aware of it and you accept it, and you know that's part of the growth process, you'll be able to wither that and grow through it and plow through it. Not even anyone, and just really grow really, really nicely. So growth mindset is key. I know, is that too long of an answer? I'm sorry.
It's a wonderful answer. And I feel like having you here, so we like to, let me just make this very clear. We like to be a very practical show. We like to give people things that they can actually take away and go use in their businesses right away. Because I do tend to be the planner and the goal setter. And, I do have a lot of that masculine energy, I would say, going on with me. So, Ro, if you could give us some do's and don'ts for getting that integrated flow and not just focusing on the one side, but also focusing on the mindset piece as well. What kind of advice can you give us, do's and don'ts?
Yeah, so it's a matter of allowing the quiet time in your life. Whether, and you create the time of what it works for you, whether it be early in the morning, even if you have to wake up a half hour earlier, or listening to your intuition. It's a matter of like, don't just respond to everything, and don't let others tell you what to do and dictate what you do, clients including. And if clients, create your boundaries. One of the best skill sets is boundaries. And, when I started my coaching, I said, I'm only going to see my clients on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I'm going to leave Mondays because I'm a heavy lifestyle. So on Mondays, I'm not the most energetic. I used to tease, I said, you don't want me on a Monday. Right. And so create those boundaries, adhere to them, listen to yourself. If it feels like this is a day that you had this plan and everything's just not in sync, well, pay attention to that. Just know it'll get done, but pay attention that the myth is that you have to work really hard and you have to burn the midnight oil and you have to do an extra hour. That's the myth. So that's the don't. The do is listen to your own self and trust in it. Trust yourself. And if your self is saying, this doesn't seem like, I'm not being very creative today, then put it aside. You have other to-do lists, do something else, and you will get to that when it's the right time. If you get to learn to listen to your own self, you'll be able to know when to slow down the doing and when to pick it up.
A lot of us, though, Ro, we haven't been listening to ourselves for years and years and years and years. So how do we get to that point where we're actually hearing ourselves? Because I have a feeling that intuition doesn't speak really loudly.
No, it doesn't. It gives you nudges. And sometimes those nudges get louder and louder and louder. And sometimes it could show up as stress, body pain, things are falling apart on your outside life. It's interesting how it shows up when you don't listen to it. So this is where implementing, what I call real self-care practices, where, and it's not the practice of, oh, I'll have a glass of wine and I'll feel better. Well, I'll take a bath. Those are superficial society self-care practices. This is more about taking care of you and your wants and getting your needs met. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's meditating, and it's getting involved in a community of this, where it's taking programs. If you're if you were like me, where emotionally holding it in my entire life and being strong on the outside, I've been working on my spiritual side for a good 6-7 years now, and I'm still not where I need to. So it is a journey, but it is invest in yourself in those types of programs that are going to help you learn how to do that. And help you. Like, I just read an article in Entrepreneur Magazine where they were talking about with the men that, because entrepreneur life is so stressful, you sleepless nights and uncertainty and unknown, and we all have that they go fly fishing. And fly fishing taught them the silence, but it taught them how to accept that, you know what, there's stress. Life never said it was going to be easy. There's always things going on, right? There's always things going on. But it's that level of acceptance and expectation that you give that's going to make all the difference. We tend to have expectations that are super high. And then when it doesn't happen, we get let down, and that just killed our energy. And that your productivity for that next day or two just got wiped out because your expectations were super high. So we tend to focus on what's not working, but we really need to be in homeostasis at all times. So it's always about learning how to be in balance with yourself, how to not have your too high. You can have your big goals, but that expectation's got to be real. You got to accept that if you're an entrepreneur, you got to accept the unknown and the uncertainty. And that's how you could start to work with that, to be like, okay, it's that self-love, it's that self-acceptance. Really work on the acceptance piece of it, and you'll be amazed at how your perspective is going to change. And that change in perspective is where you're going to begin to start to turn it around, because I'm a recovering masculine as well. So I know.
You know me so
Yeah.
deeply in that moment. If you had to give us some advice, maybe like some tools or tricks or hacks that have worked for you in the past, Ro, even like send us to a website that we can check out, or recommend a book that we can read. Are there any tools that you think we should all have in our toolkit?
Definitely, I did a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of reading. I took a lot of personal development courses. I followed a lot of people, and I followed a lot of different people, because I was under the belief that just one person could be just his perspective. So I wanted, various perspectives. So I do think that sometimes we get too much into either one person, or too much just into our industry. We need to, when you bring in diversity into your life, it opens up your mind to curiosity and different perspectives. So if you're like in psychology, go read a science book, right? It's kind of like the opposites. Do, and don't only be with people that are like-minded like you. Hang out with people who are different than you, and learn from that. So that's a great tool of that anybody can implement. If you take a look, are all your networking events all of the same like-minded people, like all thinking the same, or do you have some diversification in there? I do network events with corporate women. I do networking events with entrepreneurial women, and I do networking events with mixed genders, so that I get the mix. It's kind of just, it helps me see what I like, and it also helps me give me those perspectives. So, and I'm actually doing a program next week. I'm doing a master class on this, to give tools and to do that. But that is a great tool. I mean, and get an app. I have FitMind. FitMind is an app. Mind Valley is an app that I've joined. FitMind helps me with my meditation. Helps me, to learn. So I love the meditation apps. I love the relaxation apps. I love, and it's just a balance, just staying in balance between the strategies and the doing, and the feminine, of where you get yourself, take a walk. Sometimes it's, if you're in the midst of a day and it's really hectic, sometimes walking away from it all and taking a walk for a half hour in nature is all you need to balance. Sometimes it's just a couple of breathing. Sometimes just breathing will change any state of mind. If you're like in chaos and you're stressed and you're in that, you feel like you're in your head, like, I don't know. Just take a deep breath, a couple of deep breaths in, like 4 in, 8 out. Just slow it down. Your body has control of your mind. You got to bring it to your heart. Always bring it to your heart. To get out of your head, you got to take it to your heart. Why am I doing this? What do I love? What is it? What do I want to do? What do I love to do? It's just shift from, pay attention. Are you always doing the, I need to, I should to, I have to? If you're saying these things, you're listening to the outside world. You're letting other people steal your power. We're always be living in the, I want to do this. I'd love to do this. Like, I choose to do this. And like when I was stuck, always like when procrastinating, and if I was stuck, I would always, because I'm doing something that I really don't want to do, but as a jack of all trades, because I'm an entrepreneur, just getting started, I had to, right? And I would take a look at it and I would know my values. Here's another tool, is to really, really get to know what you value the most in life and make sure it's showing up in everything you do. So I value fun. I value freedom. I value fulfillment. I value fun. So I would look at something that I really didn't like to do, say like picking up the phone and calling people, right? Didn't like to do that. Didn't feel comfortable. I would be like, well, how can I make this fun? Just that simple question of like, how can I make this fun? All of a sudden, the ideas and the ways of making it fun popped into my heart, my brain. All of a sudden, when I got into my heart, I realized I'm doing this tedious task because of the results my clients are going to get. And when I focused on the results my clients are going to get, suddenly that tedious task didn't seem so tedious anymore. Because now it wasn't about me doing that task. It was about what that task was going to do and serve others. So when I get out of, the best tool to have getting out of your head is to get into service. And when you get into service and you see where you're coming from, that place of service, it'll help you do a 360 turnaround. So that was a lot in there.
That was outstanding, Ro. I've been sitting here taking notes the whole time.
Yay.
Very, very good. I know a lot of us who tuned in today were tuning in, perhaps thinking you were going to give us like a bullet list of how to make our goals and all of that. But I'm telling you this, guys, you can get that if you are looking about how to make lists and set goals. You can find that anywhere. But this is the core of what it really takes to get to that. What are we talking about? 6, 7, 8-figure business. This is the core of what it takes. You have
Yeah.
to know yourself.
You know, because it is about, really looking at what's your authentic ambition? What's your
Mm.
authentic ambition? What are you ambitious for? Are you ambitious to make 7 figures, or are you ambitious to change the world for women? It's two completely different ambitions. The outside world teaches us to be ambitious for materialistic things, to be ambitious for that money, to be ambitious, and that's a very masculine way.
Mhm.
But can we be ambitious for, expressing myself? I'm ambitious to express myself. I'm ambitious to really, serve my clients. That's ambition that's going to keep you going day after day after day when everything starts not going so perfectly on paper, right?
Beautiful. I love that, Ro. People are going to be wondering though, how can they get in touch with you? So, what do you have coming up and how can people connect with you?
So that's great. Great. Thank you. Actually, what I have coming up is I collaborated with another woman because I just found collaboration just helps accelerate results so fast. There, I'm saying your great word. And I collaborated this beautiful woman, Marie Maglio, her and I, on we're going to be doing a 3-part masterclass. Actually, next week, it's live, it's virtual, and it's free. And it's about hyper advance your goals and visions into 2023. It is exactly about these pieces of like, all right, now you did your goal planning, you did your game planning, you did all that. What is going to make sure you implement it with inspiration? What's going to make sure that you make it happen? And what's the missing pieces? And we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about the power of being. We're going to talk about how to really make your mark in 2023. So it's rewiringwomen.com/events. They could go to and get that information. So what I've been working a lot on is the neuroscience and the scientific proving techniques to help you, really do this kind of work and live your best life. And it is about rewiring the brain. So everything we're doing is going to be like really great, kind of like scientific with a little woo woo in there, like nice little balance of both in there, which is
I
great.
love that. That sounds amazing. And
Yeah.
so just say again the website that people can go to sign up
So
for
it's
that.
rewiringwomen.com. That is my collaboration website.
Mhm.
And if you just / events, it'll take you directly to that event.
Oh, okay, great,
But
great.
and you could reach out to me on that website as well, or at roe@roecouturedesaro.com works as well.
That's wonderful. Ro, the time goes by so quickly when you're having fun, doesn't it?
No, it does. It does.
It really does. And I'm so grateful to have had you on the show today. Before we get into the next segment of our show, I just wanted to share the card that I pulled for us today. Always pull a card ahead of every show to give us a nice little thought for the day, a thought for the week, something we can use as a touchstone. And it's interesting. This one says, I can get from an unwanted to a wanted relationship. Getting yourself feeling good before you take action is always the best process. For when you do not feel good, you cannot be inspired to any action that will solve the problem. I feel like that encompasses every single thing that you've just been talking to us about. And I
It does.
hard a half hour before we started the show. So
Wow. That's amazing.
can't
That's
make
when exactly when I said, when you don't feel it, don't do it.
Well, I'm going to ask everybody to just hang out here for a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and play our outro. And then if you want to have some conversation with Ro, we'll be here having that conversation afterwards. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Davia Shepherd, and I am your host. Today, we are talking with the amazing Roe Desaro, and she has been just sharing a lot of really, really amazing information with us. We've been talking about growing our businesses for 2023, and we're probably thinking, yeah, we need to set some amazing goals and that sort of thing. And Ro has been really giving us some advice about going deeper and taking it from a different perspective. So, Ro, may I ask you to just one more time introduce yourself to our guests and let everybody know who you are and what you do. Ro, you are muted. I'm going to ask you to just
Yes.
check.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Roe Desaro. I am been primarily playing in the leadership space lately because as a woman who's helped women step into their power, step into who they are, build businesses around that for the last, 10 plus years, I am now helping women leaders and women business owners really step into the leadership of who they are, lead themselves really, really, really well so that we could lead others. And then we could lead others through that lens of collaboration. where we are bringing forth the gifts and the talents of everyone together. And I am focusing primarily on men and women working effectively together, because we're beyond that point of women asking men for support. We're at this point now where we need to be walking side by side with everyone, not just women, but with men as well. And that's
We
what I've
all
been
need to be
focusing on.
walking side by side. I love that. We all need to be walking side by side, linking arms, supporting each other. And I love that you love collaboration, probably almost as much as I do.
I
I
don't know. We'll
am
have to debate that.
almost, you know.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to pull into our conversation, Esther. Did I get your name right, Esther? Awesome. Would you be open to just sharing who you are and what you do?
Sure. This is being recorded, so I'm a little embarrassed. But I know Ro, I adore her, and she's a dynamo. And I would hang on every word she says. She's fantastic. I get people to listen to what you have to say. I know there are a lot of people that go to networking events and they start saying who they are, and you're looking over their shoulder, right? Trying to say, is there somebody more interesting here to speak to? So what I do is work with clients to get clarity, confidence, and consistency in their messaging so they compel people to take action. And I do that through a deep dive discovery process. And through that, they get their tagline, their value proposition, and messaging pillars. And that's what keeps them consistent. And the consistency isn't only the messaging you're putting out, it's from within your organization. So if you have a larger organization and people are talking about your company or business, they may likely not be on the same page. So what I do is get the consistency happening from within and messaging going out. So that's what I do. Clarity, confidence, and consistency in your messaging.
Thank you,
You're
Esther.
welcome.
Awesome.
I'm She Consulting. It's very easy to find me. SheConsulting.com.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. And thanks for tuning in to come hang out with Ro, because she's amazing.
She's amazing. We
She
love
really
Ro.
is.
There's really no reason not to love her on every level. Just so you know.
I absolutely agree with that. So, Ro, you invited me to be a part of your Collaborate conference. And can you tell us a little bit about what Collaborate conference is all about?
Yeah, that is my first step towards getting us to work side by side. And it started off originally with just men and women working effectively together, but it quickly expanded into team collaboration and business collaboration. And it's for leaders and CEOs and business leaders and thought leaders to really learn how to collaborate better, how to co-create so that we could be more productive, so that we could increase our creativity and our innovation. And then even in the workplace, you are increasing that engagement, helping people to be seen, to be loved, like I mentioned earlier, so that we can open up with our hearts. And because it's all about trust. It's all about trust. So it's about how to build the trust and how to create conversations that are building the trust. And so I went around to some of the top leaders, whether they're being in leadership or their collaborators themselves, and come onto the table and bring that conversation to the next level, where it's not about our own agenda, it's not about power over, it's about power with. It's about all these things. So how can we start to do that? So I put together 31 experts and speakers to come and speak on different areas. I had you'd mentioned your 4 areas earlier, right? And even a gentleman that I had on negotiation, he talked about years ago was just, I win, you lose. Then it was I win, you win, which was like the last 10 years or so, like, let's do a win-win, win-win, right? We've been hearing about that. But now it's like, let's go that step further. It's about I win, what about we winning? What about the clients winning? What about the outside world winning? What about the whole global economy and humans, winning? And so that's what it's kind of been about. And I had a speaker talk about how to share your ideas without judgment, without criticism, how to give feedback that people really want to hear, all these things that we don't think about how it comes into play when it comes into working with others and collaborating. So I wanted to kind of bring that to the table, and it was fabulous. And I'm going to have another one in the spring of next year. And I hope you come back because I loved what you had to say.
I am looking forward to it with great anticipation. And we need to talk because there's an opportunity, I think, for further collaboration with having you on our upcoming summit and just maybe doing some stage sharing. So see, guys, collaboration in action right here on the show.
It is. So, yeah, because you know what, there's all different kinds of collaboration. There's that type of collaboration. Like there's a collaboration I'm doing with Marie on the event because she brings different things to the table than I have, and together it's like the sum of the parts that is greater, right? The sum of all the parts are greater than the whole. But then there's also the collaboration where two people come together and create something that doesn't exist. That's the one that really gets me excited. It's about that innovation and that co-creation. And it's like it, and I think from a branding standpoint, kind of like messaging that Esther was saying, it's like, how can we stand out in the world today? And the more value we bring to our clients, the more uniqueness we could bring to the world, that's how we could really start to stand out. So I think there's a little bit of a branding message in that when we start to collaborate with others, and it's not always you and your perspective and your vision and your experiences. It's like, let's blend it now together with somebody else. And it's like, suddenly it's like two individuals and one brand new individual. And it's like, whoa.
Now that's one of my favorite things about this whole idea of collaboration. It's that thing that Napoleon Hill talks about, the mastermind that gets created, the ideas that flow when we get together are going to be way, way more impressive than if Roe was siloed over in her space and I was over in my space and Esther's over in her space. But when we all get together, what comes out of it is so dynamic and so outstanding. Yeah. And it wouldn't have showed up if we weren't in that togetherness space. So that's one of my favorite things about collaboration.
Yeah. And then when you're in that community together, you get that added benefit of growing faster because you have others supporting you, and you have people like, oh, they think like me. I'm not so crazy. You know, it's like they have the same issues I have. Okay, it's not only me. All these little things that come out that you can grow through the collective. So there's just so many great things about it.
There really, really are. You mentioned that one of the things that keeps you going is asking yourself on your down times, how can I make this fun? Tell us the story, Ro, about a time when you had to put this in action. Like you were in a space where you were not having fun and you had to really go within and reach for that fun energy. Because I'm going to tell you, Ro, every single entrepreneur out there goes through that. They go through those down times. And how can we pull on that fun energy?
Yeah. So it is tied to a core value of mine. So it has to be tied to that. It's got to be meaningful to you. But, you know, I can't just say, oh, I'm going to create fun and you really don't care about fun. It's just, it won't work. It's just, I just want to put that little caveat there. But it came to me when, so I've had a successful career, right? I was a corporate executive. I was vice president. I had a successful MLM business. I had all these things that would tell me that I'm going to start my own business on my own. I'm feeling it. And I'm going to make 6 figures my first year out of the gate. It's like, you know, easy peasy. I've been successful, but I never actually promoted my own intellectual property before. It was always, I was very good at sales. I was always promoting someone else's, even MLM. It's still not my own products in my own services. So I fell flat on my face in the first year and even the second year. And I'm like, what is going on here? And what I was trying to do is I was trying to run my coaching business the way the gurus were telling me to run it. I was trying to run it very masculine, and this is what you got to do, and you got to do it this way and this way and this way and this way. And a lot of those ways were very masculine and didn't feel authentic to me. And I was like, the minute if somebody teaches you something and you'd be like, I don't see myself doing that. But then you're like, well, they're making 10 million a year, so they probably know better than me. So I'm going to do it that way. And you start forcing yourself to do it that way because you put them on the pedestal and you put yourself down, which is what I did. Even though I had all the success I had, I still was like, nope, I'm not worthy enough because I'm brand new. Because I don't know if anybody's going to, what I put together is worthy of people paying me for, of what's in my head, and all of that. And so I was procrastinating, and I wasn't doing what they were telling me what to do. I was being told I had to make 20 calls a day, and I had to track them. And then those that didn't answer, if they didn't answer in the morning, then call them in the afternoon. And it was like I felt like a robot on how to prospect. And I was like, this is just not me. And that's when I sat and I'd be like, all right, I know I have to prospect. I know I need to get clients. So I have to, again, see, I have to. But then I said, all right, so what am I going to do? What's going to make this happen? And that's when I was like, all right, what's important to me? Fun, freedom, and fulfillment. So, okay, how can I make this fun? And then suddenly I just started having these cool ideas. I had this idea of going online and doing the Gutsy Gal of the Week and promoting a woman that was like powerful. And I just had this cute idea of how I was going to because it was like, kind of going online and do these Facebook Lives in a fun way. And I was like, that to me was fun. I was still prospecting, but it didn't feel like prospecting because it wasn't that super structured 10 calls a day. How many people answer? How many people didn't answer? Take them to the next level and then move them in this line to this line to this line to this line. That didn't work for me. Goals does not work for me. Goal setting does not work for me. Intentions works for me. My mission works for me. My why works for me. And those are all feminine. None of those are masculine. And so that's where I started being like, when I ask myself some cool questions, I get some cool answers. And I started doing that with my clients and helping with them. And then they started getting better results and seeing it's like, hey, we're not robots. You have to find what works for you to build your business. There's many ways to market yourself. There's many things, there's many choices you can have. Find the one that you love and just go with that first. And then the others will follow. So that's what came out of me just asking, how could I make this fun?
I think that's a beautiful question to be able to ask. How can I make this fun? And I love also that you remind us that when we're doing the tasks that feel heavy and difficult, that there is an opportunity to remind ourselves why we're doing that. Tell us a little story about a time when that came up for you.
Yeah, and I started with that earlier. It was, I have to remember exactly what I was doing, but it was a tedious task of tracking again. I'm not a good tracker. So I have a coach now that does the tracking for me, but because I'm still not a good tracker. It's just, you got to know what you're great at and what you're not, and what, so I was sitting, I do remember it was in the summer. I was sitting out on the deck it was my first group program. And I had to, all these promises that I was making, and I was going to promise to get the video out and promise to get this template out and these exercises and all this. And it was like, and I didn't realize I put a lot on my plate. and it was just like a lot of that. I put me in the group coaching session and do live coaching and speaking. And I was great. Now it was all the structured piece of the group coaching program that was getting me like, ooh. And that's when I was like, I say, well, I need to look at this from a different perspective. I need to see this from a different perspective. And it's like, I was in the beginning. So it was like, I didn't have the money necessarily, which I learned now I should have invested in somebody. And, you know, I was also falling under that situation of like, you know, you hire you hire a VA once you've, you know, made some money. It's like, no, hire a VA in the beginning. It's one of the main investments you should make in yourself to help you grow that business. But that's when, you know, I realized, you know, I got into, well, what's this group coaching program about? What's their outcome? What are they going to get at it? What is it that I'm really going? What is the promise that I'm delivering? And I was like, and I just learned to really accept that this was part of it and that this is just for a time. Eventually I could hire a VA to do this. But for now, I need to do this so that, you know, they could get the results that I know they want and desire. And from that place of desire and that place of me serving them enabled me to at least not be negatively badgering myself of why am I doing something I really don't like to do? Why is this so difficult? It's like, so it made me change that whole language and accept that this is part of the process and it's okay. And the light at the end of the tunnel is this, and I'm going to shine. And it just helped me to deal with it in a way that was positive and not in a way that I was putting myself down, not realizing that as I was putting myself down because I wasn't doing it and I didn't like it, I was actually like kind of suffocating my own power. So once I accepted it, my power just like opened up and I was able to not only do that, but able to do it with a much more powerful way and then show up on the coaching call much more powerful. So it changed my whole energy. And the energy is so important in success of your business and growing your business. So all of this is really about shifting your energy in the right place.
And we were having conversation earlier about the things that we need to do to grow our businesses exponentially for the new year that is coming. And you mentioned a few things. I was taking notes. You said we need to allow quiet time in our lives. We need to listen to our intuition and not let others dictate to us, not even our clients. You said that we need to set really healthy boundaries. You mentioned that we don't have to burn the midnight oil, and that can actually be detrimental to the process. And you talked about listening to ourselves and about true self-care.
Yeah, I mean, you are your own. I had a mentor that, you know, she would call it is like, listen to your own inner business expert. You are the expert of who you are. You're the expert of your business. So why are we always constantly looking to the outside world? And I'm not saying not to get coaches and not mentors. We do, but it's like you need to be able to decipher that when somebody's telling you to do something, is that a good fit for me? Does that fit into who I am? Does that fit into my values? Does that fit into me growing my business this year and the way I want to grow? So it's asking those questions. And so many times we just take what they say and do instead of sitting back and being like, is this like somebody wants to invite you to speak on something and you're like, oh, speaking opportunity. Yes, go. But really it's like, but sit back first and say, you know, instead of reacting, respond. Is this the right timing for me to get me where I want to go? Is this going to move my needle in the plans that I put together? Is it in alignment? And we don't check the alignment of everything that we decide to do. So, because like when you come from that place, there's no second guessing of your decisions then. And then you will move forward with owning that decision and showing up in that energy of that decision because it's came from the right place versus just a decision coming because somebody told you to do it. The outside world told you to do it. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And I feel like many of us have been there where we have listened to the advice and our inner knowing has told us something different. And one of the things that I know is that my inner knowing, it's a quiet inner knowing. It's not jumping from the rooftops and shouting things. It's just kind of nudging me quietly. And sometimes, if I'm too busy or if I haven't been paying attention to my self care in the way that I should, then I can miss it. I
Mm-hmm.
can really, really miss it.
We miss opportunities. We miss opportunities from hearing the nudging, and we miss that that even the new creativity, we block the new creativity from coming in because our brain doesn't have any space for it. And see, from a neuroscience standpoint, our brain cannot be in the fear mode and the executive brain mode simultaneously. It's one or the other. So if you want to let your brain control you and you go back into your memories, go back into the fears, go back into the doubts, go, oh yeah, but the last time that didn't work, you know, that idea, I failed doing that. You think like all these things versus coming from, which is, and this is what I love about the science that we're learning now today. The prefrontal cortex is right here. Well, what else is also right here that the the universe, spiritual people have been telling us, our third eye. And now they're saying this is called the executive brain and it's the third eye. So what's happening today is science and spirit is coming together. And it's just validating that everything that we've been saying, that people be, oh, you crazy, that's whoa. Like my husband does this with my daughter. He doesn't understand. He's like, she had a 4-day event that she was going to be running 12-hour days. And the day of the event, she went jogging. And he's like, really? Like, and she was like, and she took a walk in nature. And she's like, and so like, yeah, because she needs to ground herself because she's got to show up for people for the next 4 days. But she still has to do this and do this and do this. And I'm like, so my husband doesn't get it because he comes from the old school masculine. And that's what we've been taught. And that's what we've been trained. And it's great now that I have a young woman that has learned this lesson and see it in action. And you know what? It always gets done. Isn't that amazing? It always gets done because you will think clearer, you'll have more clarity, and you'll be decisive and you won't waste energy. And when you don't waste energy, you could use that saved energy on yourself. And you can save it and go and get in your sleep, getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep that you need, getting to the gym, that exercise, getting your body moved, and all of that when you're able to do that. That's the beauty of slowing down and not feeling. And if you feel like you always have to do, I'm going to ask you to question yourself if you really do value yourself. How much do you value yourself? You bring value, but there's deep down it could be, if you imposter syndrome, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not enough, or I'm too much, or I'm not important, or I'm powerless, or all of these thought processes really will help you to play small, and it'll stop you from playing your big game. So if you want to play a big game, then it's important to slow down and do the quiet time and do the work on yourself. I'm tired of playing around and seeing people sacrifice and seeing people you really hurt their health or sacrifice their family. I just had a woman, she was like, well, I'm a single mom and I was running a business. So I, decided that now's not a time to have a relationship with anybody, and took their relationship off. And that's like a belief that we had of that we can't have it all at the same time. And that's just a belief that's stopping us. Did we lose her?
So outstanding, Ro. Thank you so much for being our special guest today on the show. Can you just tell us one more time how people can get in touch with you, perhaps how they can participate in your upcoming workshop?
Yes. So my upcoming workshop is Hyper Advance Your Goals and Visions in 2023. You can get it on my collaboration new website of rewiringwomen.com. but just go /events and it'll bring you right to the event page. If you email me and you want to be on the mailing list, I'm giving away, actually for this week, I'm giving away a free tip. I actually have 3 game-changing hacks that could be done in less than 15 minutes a day that I'm giving away today. So just email me, roe@roecouturedesaro.com. So you say, can you put me on your mailing list so you could get, all this great information. But if you want to go straight to the event, that'll also get you into my mailing list to get these free gifts that I'm giving every day this week. And so that's rewiringwomen.com/events. Thank you. So great to be here. Dr. Davia,
Wonderful.
I love what you're doing. I love all your collaboration. I love this. It's such a great, it's a great way that you're getting such great information out there to the world. I love it.
Thank you, Ro. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. Really excited to have these amazing women come join us and share their gifts and talents with us. But one of the things that I'd like for you to all remember is that these women who come on our show, they're all members of our Ladies Power Lunch group. And we are all having amazing conversation every single day with women just like Ro. And you can be a part of that conversation too. It's completely free. Just go to Grow Spouse. We're I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Thank you for having me.
It's great.